Happy Monday, y'all. Welcome. It is Monday. Welcome back to Chill to Action on the Call to Action Network here with your girl. It's me, Danny Joy, hanging out here with my favorite co-host, Mr. Paul Denuzio.
We're still late by 1 minute.
No,
Pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good.
1 minute. We did 1 minute. We were in the background praising.
We celebrated, actually. We celebrated going on time. So that was our downfall.
And that celebration.
Well, what can I say? It's your boy, it's me, it is PLD. I'm so happy to be here. I'm actually also happy to bring on. It's been a long time since we had a third host. I kind of had a new segment, but this was a special case. It's been a while since you've seen him on Chill, but as he likes to, he'll tell you himself. Let me welcome back on to the Chill stage, President Belford.
My fellow Americans, it is my honor to be back on Chill to Action because I'm only here for the good shows. And while I was gone, clearly there weren't any. But tonight, we have one of the best. It's a long time coming. People have been asking for this. They've been clamoring for it. When are you going to have this person on? And tonight, we finally were able to make it happen. You may know him from his amazing Star Wars, Paul. It's Star Wars, right? Star Wars Center with Joseph Scrimshaw. You may know him from the Schmoedown. You may know him from the afternoons with Josh, Ken, and Amanda. You may know him from the radio if you're in a small town in Pennsylvania. You all know him. You love him. You may know his name from the front of a certain book about how he loves Star Wars. His name is Mr. Ken Napzok. He is the pit boss, and tonight he is here with us on Chill to Action. Welcome, sir.
President Belford, thank you for that introduction. I feel honored to be introduced by a man I played in the short film Stage 4 by Amateur Hour Films. Pleasure, my friend. Pleasure.
Amazing performance. Amazing. Captured.
It was uncanny. It was uncanny, really. It was really uncanny.
It really was.
Yep.
Spot on.
I thought I was on screen, actually. I was like, when did I do this?
They said, would you like to play this part? I said, what is it? They said, President Belford. I said, I got it.
Yes. Ken Napzok, welcome to the show. We really appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us on this happy Monday.
Thank you very much for having me. I want to shout out PLD, who's been trying to get me on for a while, and I just was always like, I can't do it. Let me do it another time. Then I kind of dropped out of the industry for a couple months, and then I was like, all right, you got me. And then I had to even move that a week. So you guys, thank you for staying with me, being patient, and letting me come on and have.
We were not going to give that up.
We're good fishermen. We don't give up on the first try. We got to lure you in eventually. That's the idea.
Keep yanking your pole. What?
I know a little bit about it.
Well, Ken, right away, fitting into the podcast. Welcome. We appreciate it. Ken, we always like to ask the same question to everyone that comes on here. A lot of people are pretty familiar with your story. The question is usually what got you involved in the Schmoedown. It seems like you've been involved with it since almost literally day one.
Oh, since day one, yeah.
This day one, yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I guess the different question would be this time is almost more like, what did you think when Christian and Mark brought this to you, and how it's evolved over the years?
Yeah, I mean, technically not even day one, day like -23 or whatever it was. I was producing the Schmoedown movie show, and I just recently, I think Christian did post it on his Instagram page. I was going through, let's just say, 5,000 emails in my Gmail inbox that I hadn't gotten rid of yet. I'm one of those people, and I was like, let me do it. And I'm down to 447 right now at the start of the show. And I went through and I found the email the week of the first event, which was actually the JTI versus Ben Cobster, now Christian Ruvalcaba trivia challenge. And it was an email from Christian going, I want the trivia to start this week. Let's put it in the show. And all right, great, I'll do it. And that was the first time that really did start it, because that got Ellis and Christian thinking, like, how do we, it was really fun. How do we do that again? And then I was in the first official match with Katie Sackhoff. So yeah,
right.
Day one and earlier.
Wow, that's almost an email you got to print out. I feel like if there's ever going to be a Schmoedown Hall of Fame, if we keep on this trajectory, that'd be like one of the prized pieces of material you'd want to see, right?
You're right. I sent it to him. I just like, life gets busy, and Christian's raising kids, and I'm raising chihuahuas, and I was like, hey man, it's been a bit. Here's this thing, man. You got to keep this. This is awesome, and I also found a picture recently of him, Mark Ellis, and me on set for Grasping at Straws in 2007, where Schmoes kind of came out of. They're kind of working together. So yeah, the history's there, and I got to tell you, we had no idea. And I remember the bit was just one of the many bits on the show that we did, contests, bets, and all this kind of crazy things. And when it was like, hey, we think we might do a little tournament. Christian called me and I was like, sure, whatever, man. I don't know. And he's like, you'll be against Katie. I was like, count me in. Let's do it.
It's funny because I think you have like a knack for taking things or being a part of things that like you're like, I don't know where this is going to go, but let's just do it. And they kind of work out because that's kind of like how the afternoon started out, was just like you and Josh, we're going to do a podcast and we'll just see where it goes. And now X number of episodes later, you've added a co-host, and you've gone through Josh having to be away from the show and coming back, and the show's still going strong. So
yeah, I mean, to be fair, that one started because we both lost our jobs. That's a motivator. Hey man, you want to do a show because it's all we have. No, I know what you mean, and that's the fun part of life. That's the journey. You look back and Christian, one of the best things about Harloff is he's going to grab his folks. He's going to try to carry him across the finish line to the very end. And sometimes he yanks really hard to get you in, and sometimes you jump in easily. And I met Christian 2003, 2004. We started doing stand-up regularly in 2005. You just don't know. I met Mark Ellis at the Comedy Store in 2003 and thought, well, that unfunny guy's not going anywhere. So you just never know, and that's where life takes you where you need to be. But also, that's the importance of I think just being present and try to treat everyone as they deserve, and hopefully they treat you well back. And that's been the journey. It's been part of the fun.
That's great, man. That's great. Well, what has been, since you have been around since day one, what has been your favorite memory in the Schmoedown? Like your biggest moment? You're like, this is the one that for me. My favorite memory.
Yeah. There's some personal ones, with the match against Whitwer, the Star Wars Celebration thing, which was kind of crazy. Packed room, they had to turn people away, and we were late trying to get to the floor because in Orlando the hotels are all different spots, and I had switched hotels. We were in a house, and I ended up in a room with David Griffin and Christian Ruvacabo. Actually, like this suite we were sharing, everything. It sounds glamorous, right? But we were racing there, and that's the first day I met Alex and Molly Damon, and I had just been a fan of them. And I think maybe we met at the meet and greet at Ellis's comedy show the night before or later. I can't remember, but I think that's the first time we met in person. If I'm remembering Alex telling me that story too. And I got them in. I snuck them in to the back.
Wow!
And I had been a fan of his YouTube channel because I used him to study, and I was like, "Come on!" I think from the day I pointed, I said, "I think that guy over there is the one who should be competing in here down the line." And now Molly too. I'm so glad has become known as a Star Wars fan unto herself, not just as part of that Star Wars Complaint team. So that's where it all began. So there's those kind of memories, but there's also the ones of just seeing it work. And I'm not as closely involved with it as I was back in the day. And so I come back in, I'll swing through a live event or something like that. And just the live events changed the game. I don't know if people really realized how that the YouTube version would have gone on and still is going on. And they're adapting so well to doing it all digital, right? But the live event most of the original cast and crew of that show are performers. We're live performers, we're comics, we're stage performers, live performers, stage performers, actors, and all those kind of various things. And so to feel the energy of the crowd, not saying from like the crowd ego, but just like to feel the energy right there and to have the crowd give back to you right in that moment. We all that first event in Los Angeles, which was hard to sell out. LA is hard to sell tickets to. Everyone's got something to do. Everyone's got a one-man show they got to go to, or stand-up comedy at a laundromat to go to. To get people there backstage, the feeling was, I remember standing with Matt Notes and we were watching on a monitor the match, and he just goes, I would do this every week or every month if this was what this was. And I was like, oh, absolutely. This changed the game, and it reinvigorated so many of us with the Schmoedown. That kind of moment, the free for all. Was great. I showed up late. I had a fantasy baseball draft that day, and I showed up late. This is the one in Los Angeles, and I got there, and we were standing around. I just was looking at it, and it just looked so good. And then afterwards, we're in a bar, and I did just go up to Christian, put my arm around him. I was like, this is going to frustrate you. You are Vince McMahon, meaning people are going to sling every arrow they can at you because you're the man in charge, but it's all worth it for days like this, and it looks so good, and you're getting to the next step. And those are the moments, too, that I love.
How was the combining of your two worlds of professional or independent wrestling and the Schmoedown when we went to Houston and it was in that Booker T's gym, and that crowd honestly felt like a independent wrestling crowd from Arena or what's the one Pro Wrestling Guerrilla kind of thing, So I have a long history with wrestling. You mentioned Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. Pro Wrestling Guerrilla was founded by 6 guys who used to wrestle for a company I co-owned in 2001 and 2. I was less involved back then. In 2010 to 2014, I co-owned and co-ran this company called Millennium Pro Wrestling. And those guys, Disco Machine, Excalibur, Super Dragon, they all came out of that. And when our Fed folded in 2002, they went like, what do we do? And so they started their own. They were going to call it MPW 2.0, and they changed the name to Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. So I have a big ties to pro wrestling. And so it's always interesting because the Schmoedown makes me more frustrated as a wrestling fan because I think everyone kind of gets it at times. Houston was a great convergence, but I think it was annoying because there was a couple of us there, who, when you get to a wrestling arena, that's like someone's house, and there's some weird rules and some weird kind of things you do or do not do. And I think some of us, and Brad Gilmore was there kind of overseeing it because he's kind of the connection there. We're not being mean about it, but there's just, you don't get in that ring unless you brush your boots off. You don't get in that ring. If you do, that's not because it's dirty. It's disrespectful to Booker T in his house. And there's a lot of things like that. The wrestling locker rooms are a weird place. And so it was fun. It was fun to see. I've been hit with a chair so many times. I'm looking across. You can't see. There's a picture on my wall of my friend hit me in the head with a trash can and a 400-pound Samoan doing a standing moonsault onto me. I've got these pictures hanging on my wall. So I've been through it. I've been in some hardcore matches, all that kind of stuff. And so to watch Andrew Ghai, Ben Bateman, John Roca, and Dan Murrell try to go through some wrestling spots in the ring before was one of the moments I'll never forget. Because we were all nervous. Everyone was nervous because no one wants to get hurt. Right. And then the first go around, Andrew Ghai busts his lip open, and not even his fault. And not that Roca can go, and Andrew Ghai and Bateman are good fit guys. It was fun to see Murrell go, I don't think I want to choke slam someone through a table. Talk about that conversion. He didn't do a table spot.
It was four guys that I respect trying to work their way around a ring, which is different if you've never been in one. It's right. Not unlike the ropes will bruise you. And so to see that, I just was on the side of the ring like I always do before independent wrestling show when I was a co-promoter and booker and everything. And I was a manager, a character tech study for a long time. You sit on the side of the ring and you just hear the sounds. I love it. I love it. It's like baseball, watching batting practice. And I'm sitting there, Brad Gilmore, just like, oh man, I hope no one dies. I got hit in the head with a chair so hard in 2010. My head was swollen for 3 days and I had a laceration on my head. Thank you to Adam Pearce, former NWA champion, for doing that. And so I know how it can go wrong. And it was fun though. It was fun.
I'm a small person. I feel like I would fly through the ropes. Like I don't feel like I would be supported at all. Like I imagine you
could do that very well.
Yeah, if you hit it the right way, Danny, you'd be just fine. But you would be surprised. You will be bruised for days. They're hard. They're cables. They're cables with just tape on it. And nowadays, back in '83, the ropes would have a lot more give. And yeah, that's the first thing people are surprised about when I'm going to run the ropes. They're like, go, and you got a mark for days. But yeah, it's fun. But I love it. It's a convergence of two things I love. And if ever, sometimes I'm on my, we can talk about my overall feelings of the Schmoedown. It's a thing I love. And one of the things that I keep coming back for is just every once in a while having fun with a promo.
The promo is the best thing.
Your promo in quarantine was fantastic.
I argued for that in our debate session. We have the Schmoebates is our debate show, and that was one of the questions we had, and that was the one I ran with because it was so perfectly done.
It was like I always say, I don't do promos, and that's one of the things And that's a weird, almost pretentious artist thing to say, but I just tell stories, and that's what's real. And that's what Roddy Piper did. That's what all the great wrestlers, CM Punk's pipe bomb speech. It's all real stories. You're putting them into a performance type of thing, and that's what that promo was. It was, I knew what was happening. I was being fed to the wolves to help build new talent, and which, by the way, is something I believe in. It was something happy to do. It's just, let me speak up for myself here as before you throw me into the arena.
Well, I'm so glad you did do that, because I know that, it's always been a balance between the wrestling angles and the sport angles, and sometimes it goes a little more sport, sometimes it goes a little more wrestling and everything. Mm-hmm. But we really need a lot of people don't have that skill set. They're just pundits who do trivia, and they don't quite have that hack. We have a few people like yourself, like an Andrew Ghai, some people like that, who actually know how to really deliver that kind of material, and it makes it's so beneficial to the league. I think that it's missing something when it's not there. Do you see how the balance is working? Do you like the balance now? Would you like the balance to be a little more central, maybe? I mean, what do you think?
They are where they are, right, where they need to be right now. I always say, you've heard me say in other spots, I think I said it in my Star Wars match at the end, I hope one day to be in attendance at Madison Square Garden where 10,000 people are screaming for the Schmoedown. And Christian Harloff will not stop if he believes in something. That's one of the things I've loved about that guy for almost close to 20 years now. So that's possible. To get there, I think it needs to be more sport than pro wrestling. It could be a little weird if you're just flipping by and you're seeing these promos and what's going on, because it's a balance. I remember early on there was some other channel, don't even know it, and I'm not even making fun of it, not even said, they tried to do their own version of it, and it was just total sketch comedy. And you might have heard me in other shows saying, I missed the days when the Schmoedown was just sketch comedy. It never was. It was always real. I was in a Airbnb in Orlando, studying the final night before that 5-way battle at the Orlando Star Wars celebration, and Johns and Fernandez were in another room studying as well. We were all taking it. So, and I'm a sports guy, I'm a competitive guy as well, so that's there. But what I've always agreed with, and it's sometimes a tough balance, but I've always agreed with Christian that you need to have the personalities. And that's what's going to keep people coming back. Now, sports can create its own personalities. UFC, mixed martial arts, creates personalities, and the bouts are not predetermined, at least as far as we know. Boxing might be a different story. But you need the people to tune in to come back. And Christian was blessed early on to be surrounded by us and entertainers and comics and actors and people with a flair for performing. And that kind of helped boost it. That's not to slight the current generation that doesn't have that skill set, because even there's a finer point to the skill set of pro wrestling talk. I'm a stickler for never talking down to your opponent, never just saying I'm going to kick your ass, because what's that worth? It's the old Roddy Piper kind of thing. I'm a big Paul Heyman promo fan, where wrestling is always promoting the next match, the next event, the next city. That's how you make your living. And I take that in the Schmoedown too, where all my promos leave a door open either way for the story. Where I know where Christian wants to go, but if I win, I would upset. If I won some rounds in that tournament, we have to adjust. If I lost, we have to go with the story. So every one of my promos, if you go back and watch what I do, which why would you do that? Go on with your life. They're telling a choose your own adventure kind of story. If I'm doing it right, sometimes I don't do it right. But anyways, I want to monologue here. I'm so sorry, but
I love it. Keep going.
The Schmoedown is where it needs to be right now, which is mostly on the real side of it. And you're going to have some personalities, and you're going to find some diamonds in the rough who come in off the street or come in from the fan leagues who know how to perform. I don't want to sound like I'm slighting anybody there, but in the early days, we're all professional entertainers. And now it's like, on Friday we go do this silly little thing. Then it got serious, and Roca comes in with the study, and everyone talks about how he changed the game, because he did. Rachel Cushing comes in. Rachel to this day is like, I don't want to be a performer. I'm now award-nominated editor. I just know these answers.
Right.
And to watch her grow from you guys don't even know from behind the scenes of how far she just grew into herself as a performer. And it was still tough for her. That was one of the fun things to do, is to watch her kind of grow as a performer too. So it wasn't like everyone was just a stand-up comic like me and Mark Ellis making stupid jokes at the beginning. There were pundits who would never acted or never been. There's people who hate pro wrestling who are in the Schmoedown, right, and they go to the promos. It's a big amalgamation of a lot of different kind of styles, and Christian and the team have to kind of corral those styles. But right now, with the draft and all that stuff, I think it turned it into something else, and that I think overall is very good.
Yeah. So you talked about the Schmoedown not really being staged or anything like that, and that's one of the favorite things for a lot of the fans is that this sport does have like a real element to it. And I think one of the moments that a lot of people always go back and talk about that I just really would love to get your opinion on was the Andrew Ghai Dan Murrell match. Like, everyone talks about Christian's face during that match and just watching it just kind of sink down into just dust.
Yeah.
His marquee title fight going up in flames.
Yeah. Let me take a sip of whiskey. My Palace Saloon, Prescott, Arizona merchandise cup. Yeah, I was not in the studio that day. I was in the like big giant green room part of the Collider studio watching with a monitor, and yeah, we were all laughing. This is not to take anything away from Andrew Ghai as a competitor. Don't forget, I think the first Nerds Watch match was against him and Ben. Mm-hmm. And even though I think they lost, because I think people sleep on how much stupid new movie knowledge I have from like the 90s, 2000s and that kind of stuff. They lost. They, just in terms of what they know, don't even factor in what they bring to it in form of entertainment. What they know is real. So for Andrew to get a win was not the big upset. But Dan is Dan. I worked with Dan for years. That guy lives and breathes numbers and movies and directors' names and everything. So yeah, to Christian's credit, he'll always think long term, but he always knows Buster Douglas can knock out Mike Tyson, and everything changes. So there was that, and it was there's things probably I won't say and can't say. That was a tense day and a tense moment. And there's a lot of times where the Schmoedown gets real. It's like that old Real World promo. Let's start getting real. True. It's real personalities and it's real competitive stuff going on. So yeah, that was an interesting day. But yeah, Christian's face, put that in Hall of Fame.
That's the kind of thing that makes the Schmoedown like even like the real element of it, because those underdog matches like that, when that happens, that's what gets people talking. If Dan Murrell beats Andrew Ghai, it's like, oh, it's a good match, and they did it performing well. But all of a sudden, this is like the shot that started like, holy shit, this happened. Yeah. So it's those moments that actually get you going and keep you going at that point. But it did teach Christian a lesson, I guess, a little bit.
Things happen, and he loves it. Like he loved, like when we were talking before, my promo for the Star Wars tournament was kind of true. I was like, man, I'm done. Just put me in the announcer's booth. Well, we have you. I'm going to put you in the tournament. Come on, man. All right, yeah, I'll do it. And then he was, he texts and calls, and I said, promos in. It was just like, I don't think I'm going to win, man. He's like, yeah, but what if you do? And this is his mad genius, where you're like, nah, I don't. Yeah, what if I do?
Does it at least sting a little less, that loss, knowing that the person who you lost to won the tournament?
Yeah, it does, from like a sports mentality. Like, if you're going to lose, I want that team to go on and win the Super Bowl. As a Miami Dolphin fan, we always lost to the Buffalo Bills, and that didn't turn out well for us in terms of them winning.
There you go.
Yeah. You lost to like San Francisco in the Super Bowl that one year. That was
exactly. I love Andres Cabrera. I've worked with this guy for years. I was the first one he talked to at I think LA Comic Con when he was in town. He had a production gig over at a TV station, the QU it was called, who he worked for, a friend of mine, Michelle Ehrman, who was the producer. And I was like, oh, I know Michelle. And he was like, I want to help. And I'm not taking credit for it. It was just like one of those, like, we didn't right away. It took a couple months, and then we reached out, brought him in, and he's an intense guy. And we sometimes will hack on him for his jug of water that he used to always bring to the studio. And he's very serious. He's very focused. But I've worked with him on Game of Thrones stuff and Star Wars stuff. And this guy is a deep thinker. He's an intelligent guy. He's thoughtful. He's so smart, and he knows this stuff. And he couldn't crack the Schmoedown. He wasn't getting the spots, wasn't getting the matches. When he'd get them, he'd lose. And, you're busy. You can't study. He worked hard. At one point, he was like in development at this company and everything. Times have changed. We're all kind of, scrambling for work at times. Some of us, coming up, I know he's he's trying to make things work. And so he was like, all right, let me do this. And I know Winston kind of, and that's a real relationship there. I'll be I'm an interim manager right now. We can talk about it. I'll be open about it. But Winston's really connected with his team and with Ace particularly. And I'm so happy. I loved everyone in the tournament. I think they're all talented folks and great. And any one of them would have been a great winner of the tournament. Big fan of what Laura Kelly brings to the Star Wars tournament. Big fan of Molly Damon and everyone. Adam Witt and I are brothers from another solo. So we loved it. But Andres Cabrera needs his day in the sun. He is so good. And the industry, not just Schmoedown, the industry has ignored him. And no more. And I think this was what he needed, and he deserved it.
All right. Yeah. Well, you just mentioned you might as well bring it up. You were an interim manager, so you have no plans to manage next year. Then at this point, that's what you're.
No, I have no plans. I wonder if Christian's watching. Does he watch later? Does he give you notes? What's going on?
Yeah.
Occasionally might pop in.
Chris and I have known each other since I think I first saw him in like 2003 or 4 when he was the king of the Comedy Store. And then we meet again, and he's one of my favorite comics to watch of all time, by the way. So we have a brotherly relationship that sometimes means we throw food at each other. I saw what was happening. No need to go into it, but I saw what was happening online, and I had just been traded. And Sam Levine had called me to be like, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?" I'm like, "You've never called me. We're talking about the Cubs. What are we doing?" No, I'm here to let you know I'm trading you. I was like, "I'm still on your team." Sounds good, man. Sounds good. And so I kind of saw the writing on the wall. But I'm an interim manager. I'm interim coach. I am the retired, crusty baseball manager who's been pulled out of the stands and said, "Can you just kind of calm things down?" Because it was a we shouldn't go into it. We can't go into it. It was a very tense real world situation going on.
Right.
And with a company involved now, Skybound, everything. And so there's a lot of other people who could have taken the job. And I think there's a lot of people out there. They still might be in running. But Christian and Mark know me. They know me for 15 years now. It was one of those things of, "Can you do this?" And I said, "No." "Can you do this?" I said, "No." I was in my gym in my garage here on my little bench there on the phone, and Christian's like, just giving me that rah-rah speech. He's so good. I was just like, "Look," and I had texted Ellis too, like, "Will this help you?" "Yes, it will help me." So it's like, okay, happy to do it. It's fun. Am I going to take the buzzers home and practice with anyone like the old days? No. Are we going to hold team meetings? No. That's not what I'm here for. I have someone in mind who I hope to hand the reins over. I don't want to say it because they don't know I'm doing it. It's someone new to the Schmoedown, but not a fan of it, who has a son in the Schmoedown, actually. So I have talked to that person, and they're interested. They're just a working producer in Hollywood. So it would be a great fit. It'd be really cool, but we'll see. Now, that said, come the draft, Christian could find a way to convince me to do anything. So
you never know. You said working producer in Hollywood. I was hoping it was Josh McCouga's dad, but I guess that's not it.
I would love John McCouga to manage in the Schmoedown.
He can sell cars. He can manage Schmoedown.
He sold Pacers.
That's right.
There you go. John of the Schmoedown.
There we go. Yeah.
Christian's favorite storyline, of course.
Yeah.
And you're right, Gilbert. I would agree that you being interim manager is obviously the move to make at that point. It just made all the sense in the world. So I don't think there was anybody shocked when they did name you. So, but you're a steadying hand. It's exactly using that terminology. The crotchety baseball fan manager comes out to study the team. It's perfect in there. How do you feel about the Brandon Hanna situation? How you guys are bouncing off each other with the Brandon wanting to be the manager, the heel of the year tactics he's trying to use?
Are we bouncing off each other? Is that yeah. Have you ever been at a campfire and that one little gnat keeps going around your soda? I'd like to drink my cherry cola here, please, Gnat. I don't know. I'm so bad. As much as I believe in wrestling and kayfabe and everything, and I think I'm one of the rare ones who actually have earned the right to use the term kayfabe. Brandon is a great guy. Brandon's doing some good work. Is it heat or go away heat? You tell me. But heat is heat, because now people know his name, and before they didn't know him. So I think there's something to it. But if he wants to step to me, if he wants to try to talk to me, he wants to out promo me, you know, I'll just bring out the old mask, the bathrobe, and head out to the backyard and let him
and not have to use a teleprompter. But
that's it's each your own. I've never planned one word in any promo ever. So
that's interesting. Interesting way you go about it. All right. Well, you know what? You have a big love, and you know a lot about it. I love it too, obviously. Star Wars.
Sure.
Wrote a book. How did that come about? You decided like you're going to sit down. I know you did all your shows at Council for Center, but then how did the book come about? That's what I want to hear about.
Yeah, and don't forget Jedi Alliance with Maude Garrett back
Alliance as well.
It came about. I keep telling the story, but it sounds like a joke, but it's true. I lost my job at Collider, and like you know, you're out and about, you're scrambling for $40 at a freelance hosting job. Like, please, can I do SJU and talk about Batman just for some food money? And trying to figure it out. And I didn't want to go back to my old line of work or, you know, get a shift at Starbucks. Not that I wouldn't, and not that I'm above that, but it was just like, let me try to figure out something. What is my legacy? What do I want to do? What did I move here to do in town? And writing a book and talking about Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. It's something that's close to my heart and something I've always wanted to do. But, you know, you don't feel you can do it. You know, you don't have the opportunities. Those are far and few between. And, you know, it was the hardest thing. One of the hardest things I've done professionally once I actually got to do it. It came about this way. I waited. I had this idea. I had and it wasn't just the Star Wars book. It was a book, just a book. I had a few ideas. It was like, I think I want to do this. No, I can't. I want to do this. I suck. I can't do this. I should do this. I am a failure. I cannot do this. So I reached out to my friend Alicia Malone. A lot of you remember Alicia, Red Fury. And she had written 2 books with a smaller independent publishing company out of Miami called Mango Publishing. Our old pal Chris Stuckman wrote a book, and he had recommended her. And so I went to her and said, we had lunch, and I just said, I think I can do this. She said, I know you can do this. And she sent an email to an editor there, her editor, and we talked, and I sent some stuff over. They found out who, you know, just kind of looked at where I was. And I was like, I have a lot of different ideas, but, you know, like Star Wars makes sense. I was like, yeah, you're right. I guess it makes sense. Try to leverage some sales and a couple meetings. And this is, again, you don't know where life goes. It wasn't a sure deal. I had a meeting with all the team in Miami on a Zoom call or Skype or whatever it was back then, and someone in New York. And it was like 8 people, and then the 9th person in New York. We go around and introduce each other. Or they introduce themselves. And the last person is like this. She's like, my sister and I watch Collider all the time. And I was like, oh, okay, great. She's like, and so, you know, you never know. The journeys, the people you meet, the jobs you get, the jobs you lose. It's all part of it. You can never be upset about losing a job in Hollywood because, you know, that's the name of the game. And so that's where it came to be. And then I started the writing process. It's a very quick writing process. I mean, I wish I had 2 more months. I'm not super happy with everything in there. You never are. There's some big grammatical. I also write speeches. I don't write books. Even when I did the audiobook, the engineer was like, you know, when you read it, it sounded better than it looked on the page. I'm like, thank you. I'm a speechwriter. You know, I got to learn the craft of writing books a little bit more. This was my first go. So I had to get over all that. And then there again, you hear my self-loathing, you hear the self-doubt. It's there, it's out, it's a legacy thing, you know, and that's how it came to be.
Nice. I recently saw something online that said people with anxiety like to watch the same TV shows over and over again because it's whatever. That is what I have developed with your book. I have your audiobook, and I listened to it as soon as I got it. I listened to it and listened to all of it, loved it. I'm not the residential Star Wars person here. That goes to Paul right up there. So I always like to consider myself a Padawan in the Star Wars universe. Very, very low knowledge to it. So there are a lot of things inside of your book that led me to Clone Wars. Clone Wars is what I got into from your book. I had never seen anything from Clone Wars before. Listened to some of your chapters about Ahsoka Tano. Had always heard stuff about Ahsoka, and really kind of your book allowed me to find different things about Star Wars, and really helped me as a new fan of Star Wars fall in love with the franchise. I have friends that talk about it all the damn time. Mm-hmm. everywhere. It's abundant in my life. A lot of my friends talk about it, not just Paul, but everywhere. But your book really, as soon as I listened to it, I wanted to support you, especially being with Schmoedown and all of that stuff. So as soon as you announced it, I pre-ordered it, did all of that stuff, and then I listened to it cover to cover, or from second to second, I guess, when I know the book. And it really helped me figure out different things about Star Wars and really fell in love with it. So thank you so much for it. It's one of those things that I listen to fall asleep because it's just soothing.
I almost have an ASMR voice. I'm talking to my producer, Petey. Petey, can we clip that out and make that an ad? Can we make that an ad? Mango would love that. Mango would love that. Thank you.
Grace walking by, looking at you like, who's Petey?
Have many characters in my brain. Thank you, Danny. That means a lot. It means a lot, especially because though I am an old school Star Wars fan, born in '76, so Star Wars has been in my life forever. I think it's very important. In 2015, it became very apparent that Star Wars was about the next generation, and this gets to go on if we let it go on and we help it go on. I am fascinated with entry points into Star Wars. Clone Wars is an entry point. I think I was in Houston at the Schmoedown event. Someone was talking to me about it, and they're like, the first Star Wars I ever saw was Clone Wars. I was young. I didn't know there was movies. Clone Wars was how I got into it. Ahsoka Tano is a great character, one of my favorite characters, teaching some powerful lessons, especially season 7 of Clone Wars. Gosh, I'd love to go back and write some of the stuff there. Yeah. So that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's my journey, but I hope everyone can find their journey within it. So thank you for the kind words.
I also say, as someone who's born in '76, I love the fact that in times that, we've had some toxicity, of course, we've had some gatekeeping, some whatever, but I love the positivity that you bring. That the whole fact that your book is named Why We Love Star Wars is such an important thing for people like Danny, for people like, I want to get into Star Wars. I want to get everybody into Star Wars. If you don't know it or don't like it, find something you do like, because there's so much in there you can like. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, shout out to Mango I had a different title planned. It was like, Why I Know Star Wars Better Than You Jerks. And changed it to Why We Love Star Wars. It was good.
Might have had the same effect, maybe, but you could use that more, maybe as a heel, and maybe you could use that title more. But
just like you're a godfather in the Schmoedown, you're also now a godfather of Schmoedown people writing books for Mango Publishing. Because after you wrote one, now Jason Inman has one, and Brad Gilmore has one, and
no. Well, that's funny. Is Inman and I got our deals at the same time.
Okay.
I think they released it too, but we were I want to say we were at the first live event. I'd have to track the time. It was either the first or second one, because it was at the LA event in North Hollywood. We were talking backstage, just catching up, and he's like, "What you up to?" I was like, I'm going to actually write a book. And he's like, me too. And I was like, yeah, it's with this company called Mango Publishing. He's like, yeah, me too. I think there was a slight chance our books were going to be released on the same day. And I think his got bumped back a week or moved a month, or moved up a month. I can't remember. But yeah, we actually wrote those. We became book writing brothers, and we'd text each other a lot or communicate a lot when we saw each other in person about that. It's a hard thing. I had 2 legitimate, no joking, breakdowns during the writing process of that book. Head in pillow on bed, crying, going, what am I doing? I can't do this. I can't do this, because you just can't get the thoughts out, and it's a struggle, and it took a lot. My podcast suffered. I wasn't able to concentrate on that much anymore. It was a rewarding experience because of that, but it was hard to do. And Brad too. Brad, I didn't help Brad. Brad helped himself. Brad's a go-getter. He called me, was like, so anyways, I reached out to Mango Publishing. I'm writing a book with them. I was like, you did what? It didn't work that way. What are you talking about? And I love his book too. So
yeah, I feel like that's Brad. Brad's the kind of guy who sees somebody do something. He's like, well, if that guy can do it, then I can do it. I'll do it too.
I wish I had his hair. I wish I had his looks, his suits. And God, he's in this town, this industry, sometimes your walls go up whether you want to or not, and you meet someone and you're like, they suck. I hate them. And it really is because you're threatened or you're jealous, and I suffer from it all the time, and other people suffer from all the time. You have to battle for it. It is like Star Wars, light and dark side, and you need to go towards the light when you can. Brad, when I finally met him, and I didn't have any negative thought. I was just like, Christian's like, yeah, this guy's really good, and he works with Booker T, and I love Booker T. I used to watch Ebony Experience and Global, for God's sakes, when he and Stevie Ray were tagging there in the Sportatorium. And so I was like, yeah, great. And so he showed up, and you just looked at him and was like, yeah, this kid's everything, and he's so great. He's so fun to talk to. I really proud of what Brad did in that. But he wrote that book, like, here I am, like on a couch in my apartment writing and crying, and he's like in a stadium covering the Rockets, and he's writing as well. So
Yes, big shout out to Brad Gilmer, Texas Forever.
And I didn't say that part. Okay.
Yeah, Danny will definitely add it on to everything she can. So
I do. I spent a little time in Dallas Fort Worth in 2008. Last time I was there, and I loved it. 10-star tacos, executive tacos at 10-star. Great.
You can find good tacos in Dallas. It's few and far between. I will say few and far between. I live in the city. I'm South Texas, so
yeah. Okay.
Brad also doesn't like Whataburger, not Whataburger, In-N-Out Burger. So you two have that in common as well.
Yeah. I can't stand In-N-Out burgers. So yeah, I'd rather have a Whataburger any day.
Oh, there you go.
Cut that out. Clip that out.
There's a lot of people in the Action Army that tend to have the big fight over those two in there.
I know, and it's funny. And then people, I'll tweet some out or make a joke, and then it'll get really serious. And then I fall for it too, because I love, bear with me here, one of my favorite pizzas is Canadian bacon and pineapple. In fact, tonight I cooked tacos and pineapple. Pineapple makes things better. People come out, and I'll get really mad. I'll start getting really mad about the people's hate of pineapple on pizza. So I understand.
That is also a very heated debate in our circle.
That could be as well. We actually do talk food a lot. That food definitely comes up quite a bit in our conversation.
Every one of my Twitch streams ends with me just talking about food because I usually have not eaten yet. So,
Ken, do you have a favorite stadium food?
Yeah, I love Dodger dogs plain. Now, on my normal hot dogs, if I'm in New York, Times Square, I don't like the pizza in New York as much. It's good, like, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather go to Times Square, the heart of tourism, and get a hot dog from a stand, and I slather it with anything. And if it can give me heartburn, or I'll poop on a Subway, I want that on my hot dog. But at Dodger Stadium, because of the crowds and the lines, I have a tactic. I'll get 2 Dodger dogs. I put nothing on them. I just go back to my seat because I skip around the line and I just get everything on it. But my favorite stadium food, and I don't even know if it's an option anymore. Again, Dodger Stadium. I've been to a lot of West Coast stadiums, and I'm a Yankee fan. Go figure. 4th inning, I had my snacks planned. 3rd or 4th inning, I would go to Carl's Jr., which was at the time, I think maybe it still is. It was like a sponsored deal with Dodger Stadium, and I'd get a cold double Western cheeseburger that was just sitting there. All wrapped up because everyone's like still getting their main meal or thing. And then you have to, and here's the key, PLD, you're going to agree with me here. You have to get your cup of your baseball cup of ice cream before the 5th inning.
Oh God. Yeah.
Everyone switch to dessert mode. Go in there early. Get your dessert early at the stadium.
110% on that.
Pro tip for you, Ken. I used to go to the Philly. I grew up near the Philly Stadium, so we'd go to Phillies games all the time. They have Dollar Dog Night there.
I'm sorry too, actually.
Yeah, I went to the Vet, so the worst stadium in the history of sports.
How many batteries did you throw at Milt Thompson?
I may have hit Santa Claus in the head with a snowball once or twice. It's fine. But on Dollar Dog Night, the condiment bar is atrocious. It's packed. You can't get anything for your dog. So we would just bring our packets of mustard with us, and then you have them ready to throw it on the dog.
It's the little things like if I go to Subway, and I don't go to Subway much, but I do enjoy a deli sandwich, and I'll enjoy whatever Subway calls a deli sandwich. If there's a lunch line, what I do is I get up, I order the tuna sandwich, risky, but then I skip in front of 6 people and cash out and get the hell out of there because all they do is, Galunk, do you need it toasted? No, and I'm out of there.
That's true. Plain food, man. It does save time.
Yep.
But speaking of stadiums, also another big thing about your baseballs and the baseball card. I know you love to play your baseball card game. Would you have a favorite baseball card set that you had, like your complete set that was your go-to or your number one that you've ever had?
I could reach for it now, but the box broke and it would fall over. I have a set. I'm going to do something on Box Score Heroes. I'm going to go through it. It is 87 Donruss opening day, which they released, I think, in August or July of the 87 season for like $20. For as a kid, I had like a 25-cent allowance. I think I had a 50-cent allowance by 1987. I had to save up my ducats to get it. And it's weird because 87 Donruss is a great design. That's the main set is the black borders with like the yellow baseballs maybe in the middle.
Yep.
This one's like a maroon border. And they just released a complete set of cards of everyone's opening day lineup from 1987. And on the back, it just gives a little Darryl Strawberry wants to prove himself. He went 2 for 3.
Nice. The year I was born, so that I like.
Doesn't make me feel ancient at all. I've always loved that set. I also love my Score 88 traded set, which was a set released later in the year. All the players that changed teams. I think Craig Biggio had his first scorecard in there. So those are the kind of sets I like. I still love 87 Topps. It's just the wood grain border, just a good classic design.
That was a good one. I think I like 86 Topps is my favorite, I think, too. I like those ones. I think
Top. Yeah.
Like Top, that was very nice, too. So, all right, cool. I actually did have a question earlier on. John Mariano popped in, wanted me to ask you who your favorite Montreal Expo was.
My favorite Montreal Expo? Oh, Mariano. Yeah, he's nice. What a jerk. John and I share a love of the Yankees. My favorite Expo of all time is Gary Carter. That's my favorite player of all time.
Oh, there you go.
Former Mets, Carter.
I would go to the Mets, and that's where I really started watching him, was with the Mets when I started watching baseball. But Expos, Gary Carter, but also Tim Raines, Rock Raines, Andre Dawson, Tim Wallach. I like Spike Owen, and then my
Spike.
Like I used to say my second favorite player, but that's before, Don Mattingly's up there and Derek Jeter would play later. But I loved Mike Fitzgerald, who was a catcher. I think his number was 20 for the Expos. He was traded over in the Carter deal from the Mets to the Expos with Floyd Yeomans and everyone. And I think Hubie Brooks and Fitzgerald. I love, and the guy was always he was an average player, good catcher, and I got to see him play live a few times when the Expos came to town. So I got to see him go 1 for 4 with a double down the line in '89 on the day A. Bartlett Giamatti died. I was at the stadium there visiting. So yeah, and Delino DeShields, a rookie, was playing there too. So Mike Fitzgerald.
That's great. I love Spike Owen myself. I mean, I know you're a Yankee fan. I'm actually a Red Sox fan, but I loved Spike Owen when he came to the '86 Red Sox to solidify them for the '86 run that they had, and their great runs. Actually, this is actually great. I have a quick game I'd like to play. One question only. I threw together. I was looking at it. I love speaking of like Spike Owen. I love baseball player names. So I want to give you a list of five baseball player. Well, 5 names. 4 of them are baseball players, and 1 of them is made up. I want you to tell me which one's the fake one.
It's Bobson Dugnut. It's the fake one.
All right. We got Cannonball Titcomb. We got Johnny Ugly Dickshot. We got Razor Shines, Pussy to Bow, or Knocker Jameson.
So the only one I know for sure is real is Razor Shines. He was an Expos outfielder. What's the first one? What was the first one?
Cannonball Titcomb.
If that's not real, I need it to be real. When I coached Little League, and there was a star pitcher in our league, and his name was Sterling Cannon. I'm like, what do you go to the majors now? All right, read the other. I know Razor Shines is real. I remember 89 Topps card. What are the other 4?
Okay, it's Cannonball Titcomb, Johnny Ugly Dickshot, Pussy to Bow, Knocker Jameson.
Oddly enough, I'm going to go Knocker Jameson.
You got it right. That was the big name. That was a big name. I mean,
I wonder where Paul got the idea for the last name Jameson.
That's true.
What am I drinking right now?
I'm actually out. That's my problem. I was like thinking about it. It's on my mind, so I had to make a Jameson run later.
I will say, Paul.
Before, and he decided to make it a little more difficult.
Paul pitched this game. No pun intended. Paul pitched this game to me earlier today, and he shot out names, And coincidentally, I happened to get most of them right, but those were not the names that he said. So I feel like he went back and tried to make it a little.
I had a few others. I had Urban Shocker, which is an actual real name.
Yeah.
I had Pete Lecoq, which I think you might knew that one. It's Kansas City.
Yep.
And the other one, Shooty Babbitt was the other one I came up with. Found.
That's right.
Right.
I love him. And then who can forget Rusty Kuntz? Who
That was another one I threw. That's the other one I threw out there. But I kind of figured you'd know that one.
I was actually pretty proud of myself for knowing that one. So I come from a baseball family. My brothers played baseball their entire lives growing up, all the way up into college, all of that good stuff. So I had naturally I had a disdain for baseball. I grew up in red dirt. I mean, my feet were red growing up. So my family is a big old baseball family. So whenever we were getting ready for this episode, I went and I had already had this binder because I promised my mom that I would eventually go through it. But it's a binder, and she has a shit ton of baseball cards, and like it's just a binder full of cards. Like it's
Josh Prokuga would lose his shit right now.
Oh yeah, some Diamond Kings. That's 80 million Donruss right there, I think.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Top left, Bo Jackson. Amazing.
Yeah, you showed me the Wade Boggs earlier. I was so excited. Wade Boggs was my favorite player growing up.
And the Griffey.
There's Yankee card in here. I thought that was hilarious.
PLD, how the hell are you a Red Sox fan?
I'm upstate in Albany, New York. It's actually equidistant. So, and I used to go to Fenway more than I ever went to Yankee Stadium for whatever reason. My parents went out to Boston. I've gone to both. I love both stadiums. I have a good time. I get it.
Eddie Haskell's in the chat. That's my Yankee fan brother, along with Mariano, and
I know. It's funny. My brother actually is a Yankee fan, so that's got a really troubling. 2004 was very troubling for us. So
that game 4, I was at the Ice House in Pasadena doing a stand-up comedy set, and most comics in LA are from Boston, so I had to watch that stupid game and that stupid inning with Robert still in second with a bunch of Boston comics. It was a nightmare.
I can imagine. Offensive Boston comics. They must have been in your face on that one. Holy shit. I did. My brother actually after the game 5, I think he's like, I don't know if we should watch these last couple games together. I'm like, maybe not. We made it past the next month. We're okay again. But
That's good. All right, that's fair enough. Asked, answered.
Fair enough. All right. Now I think it's time for this or that. If you've ever seen the show before, this is where I'm going to give Ken option A or option B, and he will answer how he pleases. He can ask for clarification if he'd like, or he can make up his own clarification. You guys can throw some in the chat if you'd like, and I'll see if I can get to some of them. Of course, after that will be questions from the chat, so you can start thinking about getting those ready. But without further ado, we have some, of course, that are written every week. They're the same ones we ask every guest, and there's some that I have, of course, tailor-made for Ken. So without further ado, the first one we always ask, being an Action Army Call to Action podcast, are you, my friend, are you Team Ghai or are you Team Traitor?
It's only one right answer.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely go Ghai. Yeah, I'll definitely go Ghai.
That was the right answer, and we can continue this interview.
Don't get me wrong, Ben's great. But the day I saw him post a picture, he was in a speedboat in a suit. I was like, I can't support that. I gotta go Ghai.
Yeah, I always thought it was this day. We posted this on Twitter. We were like, that's not the guy you can really get there, right? Good.
Bring my shirt we made for that, where we took that photo and made shirts of it for Ben's live performance in his debut live performance in New York.
Yeah,
where 5 of us in the crowd have that shirt on.
Yep.
He is a good sport about it, though. All right,
they're both good kids. Good kids, like they're 10. Like, what did I say? That made me. Good kids, those guys.
They're 10.
I say it's Daddy's fault because she's making us feel ancient. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Looking forward to more. This is actually this or that or this. Mandalorian season 2, Cassian Andor, or the Obi-Wan series.
Ooh, wow. I've always been more excited for the Cassian Andor series, but that was also before Kenobi was a series. I was a little privy. I do not like Star Wars scoop culture, especially right now. So let me clarify and put that out there. I was privy to some of the stuff that may or may not have been in the Kenobi script for the movie. I'd heard some stuff. I don't. Again, do I know 100% true? I do not know. I want that clear. I do not know. But I'd heard some things. You know, I got some friends who worked there, and I was really excited. I love Kenobi, and I think that movie is just had a lot of potential. And I think the series has even now more potential. So I'm excited for that. But it's weird. I love the character of Cassian Andor. Love Diego Luna in Star Wars. Love what it can mean. I love that era. That's my favorite era. The Kenobi thing would probably fall roughly in that time too, but I love the rebellion against the Empire, and I love what it could mean. I love the potential for characters. I want to see Enfys Nest. I want to see Saw Gerrera. I want to see Mon Mothma, which I believe Genevieve O'Reilly has been cast.
Yes.
So I grew to really love Mandalorian. I was always excited for Mandalorian. I'm excited for new Star Wars content. Yes, give me a new show every month. I don't care. But Mandalorian, I wasn't as keen on. I was bounty hunter thing, man. Even the Mandalorian thing's not my favorite thing in Star Wars. So let me just see. And then I hesitate to say this. About a month or so before, I had heard about the child, and I didn't believe it. I was like, "No way! Like, what is it?" So there's an episode of Jedi Council 3 weeks or so before the debut of Mandalorian. I go, what are you going to tell me? There's a bunch of baby Yodas in this show? Making reference to this thing I've been told. So when the first episode came out, I was like, holy, they did it. And then that series is what I was worried about, and I'll go into a little bit more here. There's no limits on this, right? We can talk. Okay.
Right ahead.
So I love the series. I love what they did with it. I was a little worried going into it that it was, a gunslinger, and it's dirty and gritty, and it's adult Star Wars, and it's dark. And I was like, that's not Star Wars to me. I love a little dark. I love a little gritty. I love Rogue One's got some dirt. Revenge of the Sith's got some darkness. I love that in Star Wars, but that the spirit of Star Wars is morality tales to 12-year-olds and fun, zip, zam, zoom, adventure. So I was like, yeah, all right. I mean, okay, I'm definitely here for it. And then the series starts, and the volume is this technological achievement. I love it, but it looks a little different. It takes a while to get used to it. I had known that Pedro wasn't in a costume, and so I was just like, I'm not connecting to this character as much as I thought. Yeah. And then by the end of episode 2, I'm at a Phoenix airport with Christian Ruvalcaba. We got stranded in Phoenix for 10 hours. We were going to DC to do comedy with Mark Ellis, and he was on a separate flight. Our plane, this weird gas leak that almost knocked out the pilots, and they landed in Phoenix. And we get off the plane, and we're in Phoenix. And so that was the second episode of Mandalorian. I was like, all right, let me watch. And I was like, this is weird. This is a weird episode. And it gets to the end, and I was moved by it, and I thought, this is a tone poem, and this series is about something else. So the series becomes about our programming. How can we rebuild ourselves? How can we redefine ourselves? How can we find ourselves? The core of that series is Quill, the Ugnaught, explaining how he rehabilitated IG-11. That's the heart of the show. And that sequence, which I've seen some people make fun of, why we got to see this droid go through physical rehab? That is the show's beating heart. Is we are programmed. It's what we are imprinted with, and you can overcome it with time and practice and everything. And it's a rebirth. And I love what the series got going on. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited. Some of the rumors, again, I don't really follow along the scoops as much anymore now that I'm not on council. I don't have to. Force Center, we don't really address the news until it's official, or maybe we feel it might have some merit, or just we want to have fun discussing. Lando series, sure. Whether or not we think it's real or not, we'll talk about it. So there's a lot of things rumored for season 2. I'm so out of it this time. I do not know a damn thing, and I'm excited for what it's going to mean. But if I have to choose, and I have to play your silly little game, Paul,
yes, you do.
I'll choose. Believe it or not, I'll choose Cassian Andor.
That's great, and that's actually funny. Molly, I asked Molly the same question. Molly Damon was on our guest last week, and she said the same thing. And you don't hear that very often amongst the fans. A lot of people have kind of forgotten Cassian, but I'm all on board too. The Cassian and the K2SO camaraderie is just fun. It's fun adventure stuff. I love it. So
it's the rebellion as it was formed in reality. And Cassian Andor was a separatist. He was raised by a separatist family. Doesn't trust the Jedi, and yet here he is because he has to get in the fight. And this is the side he's choosing. And there's just so much stuff there. And I don't want to create my expectations, false expectations. I love the character of Infus Nest. Infus Nest is an amazing design, amazing character, and represents a different kind of oppression in Star Wars and how the rebellion can come up from the ground and how it can come from the need for survival and come from a different thing than a military point of view. So I'd love to see Infus in there as well, and Saw as well.
That'd be great. That would be great. And again, like the fact that it ties in, it could tie into both the current era. It could also get some more tie back to the prequel era. Like you mentioned, the Separatists, and that's where he came from. Some flashbacks there. It could be a real good reuniting of the whole saga, which I like.
Reunited, and it feels so good. Hey, Molly Damon's in chat.
Yes.
Molly, it's like 3 a.m. in Atlanta. Go to bed.
So I'm a very fringe Star Wars fan. I've seen all of the movies, and I read the Timothy Zahn trilogy, and that's like the most Star Wars that I'm. And when people started talking about Cassian Andor, I thought they were two characters. I thought it was Cassian and Andor, and I was like, "That's okay, all right."
Cassie Andor, Cass Andor, yeah, okay.
Cass Andor, right? Cass Andor. There you go.
The Phantom Menace announcer Fodenbeed. It's just two characters in one. Yeah, that's great.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'll stay on the Star Wars page. I'll go old school in this one. The Ewok Adventure or Battle for Endor?
So funny. We're actually going to do a deep dive on Force Center on these movies. We're going to look at it the Force Center way and find some themes. Which one? So second one is Battle for Endor with Wilford Brimley, rest in peace, and Teak, which is Nathan Hamill's favorite Star Wars character. But I will go Caravan of Courage. That's the one I remember a little bit more and was affected. That's got the Gorax in it?
Gorax, yep. That's what it was.
Which is canon because my friend Jen Murrell wrote the Gorax into Destiny, Forces of Destiny, the animated little short series.
Yes.
I was terrified by that, and quite frankly, terrified by the Ewoks in that movie. Yeah, I'll go with Caravan of Courage.
Caravan of Courage. Okay, I'll go with that.
And Sindel is the young girl in it. Those rumors that Phasma was Sindel were great. And I have a friend, Madeline Rue. She's an author. She's written some Warcraft stuff lately, and she also wrote a short story, Eclipse, in the first Star Wars from a certain point of view book. And she is a big Ewok fan and a big fan of Sindel. And I've always texted her, like, when are you writing the Sindel book? She's like, they'll never let me do that.
Well, it's funny you say that, though, because occasionally it feels like they're freer to do that stuff. Like you feel like these guys they grew up with it too. It's not just like Lucasfilm. It's like these guys who grew up on Ewok Adventure. You can almost see them bring in these things slowly but surely into canon. So they might not do it very overtly, but sometimes it's just like little Easter eggs here and there. It makes them canon. It's a lot of fun to look for when you're getting old like us.
Yeah, it is.
All right. How about this? We'll go back to a little baseball favorite. Was it Upper Deck, Donruss, or Score?
I will go Score, and the Score came out swinging. I loved early Score. I will say Donruss. For being consistent and premium before we knew what premium was. Love Upper Deck. Upper Deck changed the game, but that also is kind of the problem. It changed the game, and it made the cards more expensive, and it just kind of I started to get priced out at my local baseball card shop. So I'll go Donruss.
I only know that reference because that binder is full of Donruss.
I
understand.
That was one of the first cards. Like they would always do try something new, like a hologram or a foil and it was like sometimes it worked and sometimes it was just awful.
Yeah, that's true. All right, I'll go back to a little food. How about another one we do every week? Loaded fries or poutine?
Never had poutine. God bless Canada. Oh, Canada. Loaded fries. Yeah, we love, as Grace calls them, pigtail fries. We'll order some pigtail fries in the house. So I love those. I've switched to mostly veggie and vegan, about 67% veggie and vegan right now. Still reserve the right to get a steak at a steakhouse. It's done wonders for my health and all that stuff. But fries, potatoes, it's good to go. I'll take loaded fries.
Okay, perfect.
When Mark Ellis was on, we had like a 30-minute conversation about like potato products, fries.
If you've never had the pleasure of going on a road trip with Ellis, he's got it down to a science and knows his way around an airport like no one else other than George Clooney and Up in the Air. Like Ellis is a great road guy, and it's got some rules. He got some rules. You don't mess with Ellis's rules on the road, and he knows how to do it.
All right. I did have a couple of this or that's the chat. There you go. Ben Rayner wants to know Alien or Predator.
Predator. I ain't got time to bleed. I even like Predator too. There's a sex moment early in the movie that scarred me for life. That's a young, not child, but like a young kid coming up. Like, that's what I got to do.
Nice. All right. Go a little wrestling one for you. Old school. Dynamite Kid or Davey Boy Smith?
Davey Boy Smith is my all-time favorite wrestler. So, Davey Boy, Roddy Piper, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart. Love those things. Demolition was my favorite tag team. Davey Boy Smith, especially in 90-91, when he came back for his little solo run, and Wembley Stadium, SummerSlam 92 is like my favorite match. And he had some demons, and they ended up getting him there. I had a chance of meeting his son, Harry, in an elevator in Vegas at this thing I go to every year, the Cauliflower Alley Club. I've never met his daughter, Georgia, and I've met his wife, Dan Hart, at the Cauliflower Alley Club. So, I just love Davey Boy. I loved his style. I love what he could do, especially with the tag. I love Dynamite Kid, though he was a, known curmudgeon a-hole. But I love the British Bulldogs of the team. But Davey Boy Smith, you probably didn't know that. That's my favorite wrestler of all time.
Wow. I did know that. I was kind of asking before I was talking to Billy. I'm like, I don't know. Do you know who his favorite wrestler is? Because looking to do a wrestling one, I was going through like, should I do Hart versus Michaels? I was like, no, I think we should do. And he's like, we should do old school. I'm like, I want to do Dynamite Kid versus Davey Boy Smith and see. There you go. So I was a big British Bulldogs fan for WrestleMania 3 was my first big one. WrestleMania 2 when they won the titles from Valentine. And
his son is very talented. He had a little run in WWE, but is now massive in Japan in New Japan Pro Wrestling, part of Suzuki Gun. And he's like massive. He's a huge guy. He's can move like nobody's business. And
6'5". He's great. I loved when they had the Hart Dynasty and Natalia, Natty Neidhart, and Tyson Kidd. Yeah, it was a good run, but WWE's got a style, and you got to work for those styles. And I saw him wrestle in Los Angeles at a convention type event, Wrestle Reunion, and he put on a wrestling show, and the crowd was chanting. He was after he had just got cut from WWE, and that's just kind of the way it is. Hogan used to go to Japan and put on, moves that you wouldn't see him do, and that's just the way it is. But a good call. Love it.
That was the one actually from earlier on. Then Gilberto Campa wanted to know Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage.
Savage. Love Savage. Hogan did what he did for the industry, and I know he's kind of persona non grata and some parts of it understandable. Savage, if I keep joking, but when I wear my lightweight beanie and my beard's grown out and I wear those glasses for the Schmoedown, like it's just me being later stages Savage.
I agree with that. I'll entertain. Do you have a favorite WrestleMania match? Because I'm bringing up Savage. I'm thinking a lot of people's favorite WrestleMania match is that Savage Steamboat from WrestleMania 3. That's what he's talking about.
It's great. It's kind of how you experience them. And I'm a wrestling fan now. I haven't really watched for a couple years regularly, but I watch the pay-per-views, and I keep up every day on the news. I just don't watch Raw. I just didn't have the time to fast forward through 3 hours of Raw anymore. So a lot of the Undertaker matches, the Michaels matches, I'm a big fan of Triple H, and I think he's an old school wrestling guy and doesn't get a lot of credit for that. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But man, I'll tell you what, Hart and Piper at WrestleMania 8 for the Intercontinental title, a lot of emotion, great story, great finish. The Wembley Stadium SummerSlam match with Bulldog there, but Bret Hart versus Owen at WrestleMania 10 was a great one for me. And that first ladder match with Razor and Shawn, a lot from that era that I did love. And for what it's worth, Ultimate Warrior, Hogan, Skydome, WrestleMania 6 is legendary for a good reason. And I wrote that Sports Wars documentary podcast series earlier this year. Me and Nick Mundy worked on it for Wondery. It was Austin versus Rock and their rivalry. It was a 5-part series. If anyone missed it, it's on Spotify. You can catch up. And I wrote most of it. Nick and I helped the research. I didn't watch all the time in the Attitude Era. And so I watched. I loved Austin. I loved him as Stunning Steve Austin. And so I appreciated the hell out of the Rock, and he's one of my favorite. I bought the XFL. Like, all right, now I'm interested. Like, I had never really watched the Hogan Rock WrestleMania. What was that? 18 match.
18
in Toronto. Was it 18? Yeah, or 17?
Yeah,
for sure it's 18.
That's one of the greatest matches of all time.
It really is.
That's one of the lessons on how to do wrestling and how to tell the story in the ring, call the spot in the ring, but also adjust on the fly. And two guys who just know how to tell the story. Wrestling is a story. Wrestling is putting over the next moment, the next move, putting over the finish, putting over the next match. That was what it was, and it was pretty impressive to watch. And so I had not really watched that. I'd seen it. I'd seen clips. I'd seen it once. I experienced it again. Sat down to study it for this podcast, and was like, "Yeah, this might be the best match I've ever seen."
It was the perfect storm coming together. The electricity that the crowd of Toronto's always been a big place for Hogan anyway, of course. But the idea that, I heard you cheer about it afterward. They had this one story in mind. They got out of the ring, and all of a sudden, everybody was like just chanting for Hogan and making The Rock a heel. They had to do that like on the fly, quick flipping. And just two professionals who just knew what they were doing, and it was an amazing match. It's one of the ones I always liked about too. Definitely my top three. So. Yep.
Okay, so I have a cheat, this or that. I don't have options, but I'd like to know, as the resident Game of Thrones, do you have a favorite Song of Ice and Fire house?
Yes, the Night's Watch.
There you go. Yes.
There.
Yeah. 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 And people always would be. People always.
We have a coat of arms. Yeah.
You want to go up there and in the cold and not talk to anyone and not be around any romantic relationships. And now I'm in a very happy relationship. But when the show started, I was like, yeah, that sounds great.
Send me to the wall, boys.
Yeah. I love the Mormonts. Yeah, I love the Mormonts, House Mormont. But Jorah Mormont up there at the Night's Watch is interesting. It's so integral to Jon Snow's journey and the why of Jon Snow. And that show, not the book series. And I've read the books. I'm a big fan of the books. Come on, George, finish writing the books. But in the show, the lesson of Jon Snow is not about the how and the what, and the victory of the Night King was not his to have. The throne was not his to take, and that he wanted to take. It was his to take, probably literally. And the fact that Jon Snow ends the series walking north with the free folk, and the fact that he dies for those people in season 5 by telling his brothers, the people we've been tasked with defending the realm from aren't our enemies, and we need them south of the wall with us, or we will not survive. And I'm willing to die for that. That's powerful stuff. All kind of comes out of the Night Watch. And I love the character. Alistair Thorne, who is crying, and it is part of one of the reasons Jon Snow died. Alistair Thorne is a great character for me, and a lesson in leadership, good and bad. There's some great moments. His speech on leadership to Jon Snow in episode 8, Watchers on the Wall, season 4. What leadership is, Jon Snow, and says a bunch of bad words. But so I love it. Outside of that, not to cheat, Danny, outside of that, I do. House Stark's hard not for me to like. Terrell, I'm a Stannis Baratheon fan. He's one of my favorites.
You're a Stannis stan?
I am a Stannis the Manus guy, and I absolutely love Stannis. And I wouldn't look at Stannis, old, crusty, really grouchy guy who kind of cohorts with a red-haired fire witch, like. You're just talking about my life.
Thing is his relationship with the Onion Knight and how it gets its start, whether he smuggles food in to save him, and that's how they get saved, but he still takes his fingers because he was a smuggler. That's Stannis to a T.
I love Stannis, and what I love about the story of Stannis is it's the lesson. And I used to do the Game of Thrones show on Screen Junkies Plus. Me and Michelle Boyd would host that together with Trish Hirschberger and Spencer Gilbert. And Michelle's always giving me crap for Stannis, which is fair. And that season that he kills his daughter, or lets his daughter be burned, there's some great moments of Stannis earlier, and I was like, right, everybody, right? And then but I'm like, okay, I'll sit down now. But the story, this is
all the other things that people did in that series. That's the worst thing anybody did.
Yeah, no, it's the worst. But here's the thing. I always talk about this on Force Center with Joseph, and Joseph's big thing is engage with the story presented to you. And my big thing is the why. Star Wars doesn't want you to ask how or what. It wants you to ask why. Why? The story of Stannis Baratheon is a guy who has done everything right. He just wasn't popular. He wasn't loved, but he's done everything right. So he has a sense of what is given to me, or what has not been given to me. I deserve it, but you know what? I'll do what I'm told. And then this red fire priestess shows up and says, no, this is your destiny. Take it. He becomes consumed with what he thinks he deserves. He becomes consumed what he thinks is his right. And he does some great things along the way. And he might have been a bad king to work for, but he probably would have been a good, fair, and just king. So the story of Stannis Baratheon is losing yourself, being consumed by your desires. And I love that, because that's the why of Stannis Baratheon. That's why it's important. There's a lesson in that. And you could probably get me started on how much I love season 8 and how much I love the point of a lot of it is the lessons. When Peter Dinklage says, you know what you shouldn't have done? Got a tattoo of the Dragon Lady after 4 seasons. We were telling a story. We are telling a story, and there's lessons in there, and the lessons are Dany's mistakes, but also, more importantly, what was done to Dany, a woman in this world. You should be disgusted with, you should be upset, and you should consider it tragic. That's part of the journey in the story. It's the why of Game of Thrones. It's the why of these stories and why I love them. Why? How did the Emperor come back? That's not the point. The point is the Sith never let go. They never transition. They never move past. They can't even give up themselves. They can't even give up death, and Palpatine needs to hold on to that to the very end until it destroys them. Like that's the lessons. These are modern myths. That's why we watch them, you know. And so Stannis is my favorite character, both just on screen, but also what he means to me.
Nice. My personal favorite character is Wyla Manderly from the books, from the Davos chapter when she gets the North Remembers speech in that. So that's one of my
great stuff. I still love Littlefinger. I just love watching him scheme and watching him coming from like this little island. And he's you can tell what he has. These great ambitions. He just wants to make something of himself. You can see his journey has been one that he's been shit upon all his life in a way. He's trying to make a big deal for himself, but he's making bad decisions now because of it somewhat. But he's so clever as well. It's just a great story to watch. I love it.
And yeah, Game of Thrones does Song of Ice and Fire does. There's so many things that you ask. We just we were talking over on my Casterly Talk podcast of the honor of Ned and Jon. Would Ned approve of some of Jon's decisions? And it's a hard question to answer when you really dig into it, because he would, of course he would, but also he was stubborn to a fault and lost his head for it. And Jon adjusts. I was asking my great caller Eric Monroe just called him with this question. We're big fans of Mance Rayder, both in the books but in the show. And in the show, you get so little of him. And it's like, well, was Mance Rayder wrong for not bending the knee all the way back in season 5 when he was captive? And it's like, well, no, listen to that speech. But then you got Tormund in season 7 going, how many people died because of his pride? And it's so, and there's no straight answer. You have to go to the themes and the lessons of the characters. And I love it.
The best part about it is there is no right answer for anything. It's all, and you see things from both perspectives, what George Martin does so well. Like you had Jaime Lannister introduced as such like a prick, and all of a sudden you turn him around, you see it from his perspective, and you see a totally different character in a way. But which one's right? Both of them are right.
Yeah, with season 1, when Robert and Cersei are talking about their marriage, holding the kingdom together, and everything there, and it's not even a book scene, by the way. So all the arrows that those guys don't know how to tell a story, that's stuff that's in there that's great, and I just love it, man. I absolutely. There is a wrong answer in life, though, and it is if you're against pineapple on pizza, you are wrong. You are actually wrong. You have to deal with that before the Lord your God when you meet him.
I'll prepare myself. I'll do that. All right. We do have a few more. We'll do one or two more. Then we'll get into the chat questions. Let's see. Well, one more wrestling question I had. Better commentator. Probably better foil to Gorilla Monsoon. Really, Jesse the Body Ventura or Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Oh man, come on! Like.
Even I get this reference a little bit.
What do you get? What's your answer, Danny? What's your answer?
Heenan.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the answer, but it's very hard to. I have a lot of good memories of, Monsoon of Ventura calling matches. He worked very well and knew the business so well. So, but Heenan's great, man.
I will say this: he can work with anybody. You put Heenan in any commentary team, and it works. There was something special about Jesse the Body and Gorilla Monsoon, like they played with each other.
Even Yeah, Ventura and McMahon. Vince McMahon was underrated for the time. I mean, he was of a certain era, but I loved Vince too. And just McMahon, just Ventura going after McMahon too is always the best. So.
My favorite commentary call of all time is Bobby Heenan during the barbershop window scene with Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty when he's like, "Oh, they're getting back together," and then he goes, "Oh, I knew he was going to do that." When he throws it through the window.
Always some words of wisdom from Bobby Heenan, and what does he say that one time? It's like the old saying goes, "What the hell? Use the bell." It's just.
Ventura had some good ones too, and he like this, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. Stuff. All right, we'll end up with one more before we get to the chat questions. Del Taco or 7-Eleven?
Oh, Del Taco. No, I love 7-Eleven. I just had a bad experience there the other day with my local one. Del Taco. In fact, I am upset at Mark Ellis and Josh McCouga we have an ongoing text thread that if we ever published, we'd be probably thrown out of the business. But they've never been to Del Taco. And I know it's mostly West Coasty, maybe in some other spots. So I know some of you haven't had the opportunity to go. They go to Taco Bell, and it's like, okay, you're just wrapping barf in a tortilla. What am I? That sounded horrible. Tortilla. Del Taco is fresher. It's zestier. It's bolder, and that double Del cheeseburger is. JT will agree. It is the most underrated fast food hamburger.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There it is.
If you're ever in the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, Ken, you'll love it. We don't have a Del Taco, but there's more 7-Elevens here than any other store on the planet. There are literally 7-Elevens across the street from each other or next door.
I'm excited. I want to get to the ones in Japan too. Kelsey's got a great Del Taco soft shell chicken tacos. Are so good. When I worked a graveyard job in like 2001, I had those almost every night. I was eating them while I saw what I believe is a UFO. So I connect Del Taco to a lot of great moments in my life.
All right. Well, that'll end this. So that you survived your experience. Congratulations, Ken, on that.
Great. That's great.
So now,
Danny, what was your favorite house? I didn't ask you.
I think if I get into my head favorite house had to choose, it'd probably be House Dane.
Oh, Sword of the Morning.
Yep, that's right.
That's a good house. It's a good character. And I actually love that moment in the show. I thought they, for giving you a tidbit of something that's much bigger in the book. So I was like, I'll take it.
I really liked that they gave him double swords instead of just like the big long sword. I felt like that gave people who weren't familiar with the books an opportunity to understand that like Arthur Dane he's the shit. Like that's the dude right there. So you got to watch out. So I was really glad. I liked that they did that in the show, and I saw a lot of people were really upset that they gave him a two double swords instead of big.
Yeah, I loved it. I wish you good fortune in the wars to come.
Ah, yes.
All right. So questions, you can start asking your question, get your questions in the chat, and we will get going with them. Before we do that, of course, we will talk about the podcast this week. What's coming up this week while we're waiting for your questions. Of course, also Streamlabs too. Throw those in there. Super Chat and Streamlabs will always get priority. We have a couple of those already in there waiting. But let's talk about this week. We have Wednesday. We have Schmoebates, the next episode of Schmoebates. I'm going to be Intergeekdom related. We don't have an official thing until we official set list on our co-host with Alex. We haven't confirmed that, but it should, if it is who it's supposed to be, it should definitely be a fun one. Either way, it's people debating about the Schmoedown. It's one of our favorite shows of all time. So please get there for that on Wednesdays. And then the Sundays we have on, I'll just bring her on now. Sunday, we have this woman, Kelsey. How are you doing, Kelsey?
Good. How are you guys?
She's always here behind the scenes. We love her so much. And we want to let her know she can talk about her show on Sunday.
Yeah, of course, you'll see me on Call to Action Live every Sunday. We'll be talking about all the fun matches we've had each week and predicting things that will be coming. Plus talking about basic news and having discussions and tangents that go on for hours. So it's always a lot of fun.
And we have started streaming on Twitch. We had our first stream last Thursday. We don't have one set up quite yet. We're kind of playing by ear a little bit. That's our totally non-Schmoedown talk. I mean, well, we say totally non-Schmoedown, but it tends to come up every once in a while anyway, because of where we're all from, pretty much. So we all found each other. So it comes from. But we do have a little talking on that. We had a good long episode last time. Some guests. It'll be a fun time to get to know us more on a personal level, which is a lot of fun. And finally, we'll announce our next episode of Chill to Action next week. I'll just play Kelsey's little ad because it's a good one.
It's a good one.
We have Mark and Draco coming next week, so that should be another fun one in our team. We saw him on the Action Industry show last week. He have a lot to talk about, so a lot of fun there. So, and I'm getting word from Jake in the chat, and he'll know more than because he does all our thumbnails. So he'll know more than we do. Eric Zipper versus Robert Parker. That's a great IG theme show. Wait, that's going to be great.
That's going to be fun.
So, all right, Kelsey, we leave it to you to start bringing up questions.
Perfect. We do have some Streamlabs to get to, starting with one from Will McLean. Okay, big question here for Ken. Are you ready to admit dark mode is a superior phone mode?
No. And shout out to the dark mode sisters, Lauren Romo, Christy Baldrop McGee, even Grace. I know, I think Bador, if you're still in chair, I think you're mistaken on your choice of dark mode. I don't. I'm light mode in literally everything I do. I'm like Qui-Gon Jinn. I go towards the light side.
Fun story about Will McLean. I purchased your book from you in Houston, Ken, and then handed it to Will McLean because it was for him because he had no money on him, and so that he could get your book.
I do remember that. Yeah, you're truly presidential.
I met you, Ken, and I want to thank you for your positivity to Star Wars. And that's when President Belfort here came up and said, "Oh, is this your space book?"
Not wrong.
You weren't wrong.
Never wrong.
All right. Next question is from Jake Iacovetta. Paul Denuzzo, born and raised in New York, but a Boston Red Sox and Chicago Bears fan. What in the actual fuckity fuck? So we just had that comment.
I'll answer that one. Paul's been a flip-flopper from an early day in his life. He flip-flopped a lot of stuff, and he just happened to land on the Red Sox and the Bears when he was done flip-flopping.
1985, 1986 was when I started liking sports. My friend was a Red Sox fan. We went to Fenway together. Did that. 85 was also the Bears. Chicago Bears, the best defense of all time. And the Super Bowl Shuffle went over a young kid very easily. So I was a big William Refrigerator Perry fan and Walter Payton fan from that year. So that's why the Chicago Bears happened.
You're wrong about what's the best defense of all time, but it's fine.
Anyways, moving on.
Great.
From your wrong opinions.
The Ravens in 2000. It's fine.
Kelsey, we have that.
All right. And then we have one from D-Train. This is for Ken. What made you choose Bonnie Somerville, who has 0 wins and 3 losses, over Rebecca McKendry and Scott Mance and JTE?
The tournament.
Sure. That's a great question. And D-Train, because that's a great question, I'm going to give you the most honest answer I can give anybody. Christian called me and told me Bonnie's in the tournament. I can't tell you how many times I would gotten a message and say, "Hey, I need your players for the tournament," and I write back, "Who's on my team?" I love Scott Mance. If I'd known Scott Mance was on the team, I would have come from. However, there were some other. I don't know who Rebecca is, but I think we're having trouble getting hold of her. I don't know the whole story. And but I give it. Jokes aside, there was a little bit of an opportunity for me to say no. I know Bonnie. Go back, Bonnie. Away with Bonnie. The match hasn't aired yet, right? She's a great person. But here's the thing: it's important for me to have female competitors in the tournament, and so I wasn't going to switch one out for another. You know, I was like, it wasn't going to, if Rebecca wasn't available or whatever, I wasn't going to be like, yeah, bring in Scott and everything like that. I love Scott. I love JT. They'll have their opportunities. It was important to me to make sure Bonnie was in there.
That's good. That's amazing.
All right. Another question from D Train. Kind of hard to like Stannis after he let his daughter get burned alive. I don't care what he has done or if he's misunderstood. That guy deserved to die. Wished his death was more brutal. Wow.
No, but it's true. But that's right. That's right.
Fair enough.
He got what he deserved, which was the lesson there. His wife killed herself. Yeah, absolutely.
I always, though, whenever someone says that like someone in Game of Thrones got what they deserved, I always wonder, well, who's the character that you like? That like, who's the happy flower character that you look to as the source of light?
Yeah.
Game of Thrones, the TV show, has completely ruined my TV experience for anything. I don't trust any characters in any TV show that I watch now. Like, I'm just on always, everyone's gonna die.
Yeah.
So that's what Game of Thrones did to me in my TV viewing.
But it affected itself, because in season 7, when not enough people died, people were like, rah, rah. And I was like, well, that's not always how it's supposed to go, you know. Yeah, no, I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean.
It's actually launched an entire genre of fantasy fiction. It's the like kill off the main character to fantasy fiction, like that, like so you know the stakes are high. I mean, that's like basically why he kills off Ned. George R. R. Martin has said that's why he killed off Ned Stark in the first book, so that then from any tension from then on is you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
and it worked pretty well.
Not D&D letting Arya kill the Night King. Not a fan.
All right. Next question is from Brandon Buckingham. What would you rather see, Solo 2 feature film or Disney Plus show?
I'd rather see Disney Plus show. Yeah, I think it's unlikely still, but who knows? The land, there's all these rumblings. They are under contract, so that'd be fine. I love the movie very much, as I think a lot of people know. I think with less pressure, stretched out over more episodes, you can spend more time with those characters, and I think now people, thanks to The Mandalorian, they're used to seeing Star Wars in that way now, and they're actually hungry for it a little bit. So I'm fine with that. I'll take that.
Awesome. All right.
I also think in a TV show, they build those characters more than in trying to introduce and then flesh out a character in a 90-minute movie. So
I would agree. However, that's what shows like Game of Thrones and high premium television have done. Now in a movie where you're doing probably a really good job of that. Now people are like, I'd like to spend more time with them in a bar. Like that's a movie that you got 2 lines to do it in a show where we our viewing tastes have gone towards shows,
right.
For good reasons.
All right. Ben Rayner asks, hey, question. Do you agree with Christian with Vader being in the Obi-Wan show, and do you feel he has to be in that show?
Yes, I do agree. And I think it was going to be a key part of the movie. Here's what it's about. Here's the quick pitch. And I do not know if the show's going to follow this. I don't like to create those expectations. The idea of Kenobi in the desert was about a man who about 7 years in had just watched the fall of his order, had just watched himself fail his brother, who he believed then was the chosen one. Why do we then find this guy in the desert who's protecting Luke, who he now believes is the chosen one? Now, George Lucas will tell you Anakin's the chosen one, so there's the answer. But Obi-Wan, the character, believes that Luke is the hope at this point. He even argues with Yoda about it, who wanted to train Leia. So what we're getting is a turning of the page for the Kenobi character. How does he move on with his life, move on with his failures, and focus on what's in front of him and what's next? So part of that to me would be him going, if he can sense it, if he can feel it, if he has any inkling that guy in the cape is Anakin. And I don't know, the details of that. I'm not worried about it. You figure it out when you go. But if he goes to confront him one last time, and it actually syncs up in Return of the Jedi, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, in Return of the Jedi, doesn't sync up as much as you'd think to A New Hope, if you really think about it.
Right.
You know, it could sneak up. You could pull moments from Revenge of the Sith. Maybe that's what Anakin and Obi-Wan were talking about. And I think we're fine with those as fans. But to me, it's not going back to the well. It's exploring this wonderful character and this switch and moving this chapter forward in his life and moving this chapter forward in the galaxy. And that is what I think why Vader belongs in that story.
Same page. I'm on the very exact same page for that. So, from your lips to Lucasfilm's pens, I guess.
Oh, we'll see. The show. I'm going to follow the show wherever it goes.
Oh, I will as well. Yeah. So.
Now I really want to see it where Leia gets trained by Yoda. I really want to see that.
Yeah, if you guys haven't read that, it's in the book, the New Hope version, from a certain point of view, the 40-year anniversary. It's got a bunch. There's got some weird stories, some wacky stories. It's canon, but they play with it. There's some great stuff in there. I mentioned the Matty Ruth story, Eclipse, which is about Breha and Bail Organa's final moments before they die. It makes me cry. It still does. Mm-hmm. And then the Yoda on Dagobah, and Obi-Wan kind of shows up, and Yoda's like, "Yeah, I got the perfect Skywalker to train. Her name's Leia." And Obi-Wan's like, "Hey, we didn't go this way." It's fascinating to me. It's fascinating. Gosh, it is good.
All right. Next question, also from D Train. Who would win in a sword fight, Aragorn or Jon Snow?
Well, that's a good one. Snow's rough, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's got a lot of experience growing up. Roderick Cassell probably taught him really well with some good irons. Aragorn, though, man, you watch him, especially Fellowship of the Ring, where he's just like, "Cool, Frodo, you go. I'm going to take on these 100 orcs. We'll see what happens." I think I think Aragorn, again, at these points that we know them in their stories, Jon Snow's one of my favorite characters, but what's some of it, he's stubborn, a little bit like his father, quote unquote father, Ned, but also a little rash. That epic shot of Snow facing down Ramsay's army, which is beautiful. It's more beautiful than almost any movie shot I've seen my entire life. What's the moment there? What's the problem with that? John didn't follow the plans, and he tripped up emotionally, and he ran headlong into trouble. He was going to die. He wasn't going to come out of that. He was going to die. He got saved. And then Sansa saves his ass again a little while later. That's part of the why of Jon Snow. It's not all hero stuff. It's learning. So as far as we know, Aragorn, at the time that we see him in the movies, I think he's more calm, collected, more centered. He's more of a Jedi, and I'll take Aragorn.
I think it's a good call. I agree with that.
I will
as well.
say Jon Snow is one of the best desperation fighters. So if it's in if he reaches that point of desperation, that's when Jon Snow thrives.
More dirt in the eyes kind of thing too, a little bit down and dirty, I think.
Yeah. And just so you all, I'm not rushed. If you finish up some of these questions, I know I told you guys about 10 off air. We're good. Finish up what you got here.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you. All right, and then we have a Streamlab from Ferris, which just says hello. So hello.
There's Muthana. He just stepped up in my Patreon page. He's in the boardroom, and I really appreciate his support.
Ferris, good guy. Muthana.
I didn't say that. Fair enough.
Neither does anyone else in the general chat. I'm so sorry.
General, and that's like our budding bit as well. Shut the fuck up, Ferris. That's what we usually say. It's always with good love. So.
Bud.
All right, and then we had a question from Bador asking, "How are the puppies?"
Ooh.
The puppies are okay. Baxter hurt his foot, and so he has like a little ankle problem, and it gets better, and then it gets worse. And we were on a walk. Sundays we try to go for it. It's been really hot in Burbank. Try to go get a morning coffee, and he hurt again. He yelled, and we had to carry him home. Luckily, we have the dog stroller, so we can put the two chihuahuas in the stroller because Ratsy can't. She has some arthritis issues, but the dogs are good. Ratsy pooped on the floor today and actually pooped in a circle and pooped herself into a corner.
Honey.
Like, how do I get out? I've created my own prison.
I have a pit bull, and she's a little older, and she hurt her leg at one point and would yelp, and we would pick her up and put her on the couch or whatever. Unfortunately, she didn't realize that if she yelped at any point, we would just do whatever she wanted. So now she's no longer injured, but she will yelp every once in a while, like when she wants to get on the couch or
This is true.
That's Schmoedown live events that we don't talk about. Smith at like 3:00 in the morning. It's crazy things happen.
Very true. Very true.
What happens at the Action House stays at the Action
House as well.
That's fair.
All right. Next question from Molly Damon. Favorite Star Wars explained video?
Whichever one.
I don't know. Especially in the early days. I forget when you guys launched, Molly. I forget exactly, but it was like when I was doing the Jedi Alliance stuff. That was the first time where I was like really looking at Star Wars YouTube, and now it's an adventure I don't really enjoy. But I found Hello Greedo pretty early on. I found Jen Landa. That's how I found Jen Landa. And I ended up when Maud left Jedi Alliance, I wrote Jen, was like, "Hey, you want to come on the show?" And thought maybe she could co-host. And then she showed up like 8.5 months pregnant. I was like, well, she's going to be out for a little bit, and that's why I ended up bringing her to Force Center, and me and Joseph created Force Center. So. I just remember the early days of stumbling on, I think it was Star Wars Minute. And Alex is there's something about Alex when he was those voiceovers, just kind of simple, factual, charismatic in his own charming, Southern Georgian way, I guess you could say. I just really love the information. And just the more I spent time with his videos. So there's nothing specific that I can point to. I love because when I read the books, I love the Star Wars books. We have to review them and discuss them. Joseph is better at like, there's something, a character or something. I'll write a note down and I'll research it. I just read and read and read. And then I close the book and then I bring up Star Wars Explained and I go, all right, 50 Easter eggs in Thrawn. What did I miss? I just don't pick up on it.
I'm going to steal those steady.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And then as I talked about earlier, getting to meet Alex and Molly in person in 2017, and they're just great. And there's a lot of great people in the Star Wars communities out there, and there's some bad eggs there too, but you just kind of focus on those who you connect with and have a connection with. Black Series Rebels, who are now going beyond just Star Wars, but Alex and Steve and Cisco are three of the best dudes in this business, and they are in this business. They're actors, they're producers. Those guys, Cisco produces like the show Ridiculousness. He works on that one. I mean, they know what they're doing, and it's just you love connecting with those kind of folks. And it's not necessarily your shared views, because there's some things Alex and I will text, like he'll come out of a movie and be like, I don't know about this. And I'll be like, let me tell you why you're dumb. And he loves Squadrons, Fallen Order. I do not love Fallen Order. I just don't. I just didn't connect with the game as much. Love parts of the story, didn't love the game. He loves it. And so I just love that me, him, and Molly can have a nice Mexican food dinner in Burbank. They were two like the last people I saw in person, I think. And I just love what they do. Greedo, hello Greedo too. I know what he looks like without his mask. And he's just a great chap too. And I just love that. So I support them fully. Always some of my favorites. And those Easter egg videos are what I go to a lot.
Nice.
Love them too. They are great.
Next question. What is your favorite Saturday Night Live movie? Dirty Works or Coneheads or another movie?
So I love Dirty Work. It's a built on Saturday Night Live, directed by Bob Saget, Norm Macdonald, Fred Wolf's in it, Jim Downey. So many, is it a direct Saturday Night Live movie? I don't know. But my favorite Saturday Night Live movie is Wayne's World. That came out, Paul, you and I, we're right there. That came out 10th grade.
No.
That sketch was already one of my favorites. And then the movie came out. It's the greatest year of my life. And I love Wayne's World 2 as well. But I love Wayne's World so much.
That's a great one. I love him.
Yeah.
Chris Parnell's in Dirty Work. He has my favorite line of the entire movie when he picks the fight song on the jukebox, and it's like I can't remember what he thinks it's gonna be, but it's do you love pina coladas or whatever?
Yeah. It's Dirty Work's like one of my favorite. Like, it's not a good movie, but I love it.
I was gonna make a joke.
It's a perfect Norm Macdonald movie. Like, everything in that movie is his humor.
Oh yeah. Note to self: don't get your ass kicked. Yeah.
Hey, we just beat up all those guys and like got in a fight and beat them all up. That really? No, actually the opposite.
Yeah. Love that.
All right. Next question is best yacht rock album. Doobie Brothers, Minute by Minute, Steely Dan, and Christopher Cross, self-titled.
It's Christopher Cross, self-titled. Doobie Brothers, I love a little bit more. Mark Ellis will actually get mad if you talk about the Doobie Brothers, and I'm not a huge Steely Dan fan. I do like some of their bigger hits, but I don't like them overall. I don't like jam bands too much. But Christopher Cross, Sailing, come on, that's yacht rock.
Takes me away.
Where I'm going sailing. Yeah, love it.
All right. Here's another this or that. A Hard Day's Night or Spice World?
Who asked that? Ryan Kramer. Ryan, let me tell you something, Ryan Kramer, if that is your real handle. There's some things in life that you just can't choose. I am a giant Beatles fan. Me, Mance, Inman, Roca, we all love the Beatles. We'll all hang around and talk about the Beatles. Love Hard Day's Night. It's an art piece. It's a beautiful film. It's fun. It's early music videos. I legitimately love the Spice Girls, and I legitimately love Spice World. I think it's a really funny movie. I think it's silly, stupid. It's not great. It's not like a great movie, but it's like it starts and it's like, hey, everyone, this isn't going to be a great movie. Are you ready? Cool. Let's go have some stupid fun. I just love it. I do love the Spice Girls. I got to provide an impromptu security detail for Posh Spice once at my old job. And I couldn't have been happier. And it's silly. Hard Day's Night is the answer, but I'll take Spice World.
Yeah, spice up your life, everyone.
People everywhere, spice up your life. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yes. All right. Question. Favorite Dan Marino moment? Mine is the fake spike. I've been a Dolphins fan forever. I'm glad they were starting to take the right steps, especially since Brady is out of the division.
Yeah, that fake spike moment is amazing. It's still one of my favorite moments. Favorite Dan moments when he came back from the injury. I was really affected when that Achilles heel tore in 93. I had a big giant. This is probably why I didn't have female companionship. I had a giant, and I'm wearing my my Octo Radio shirt. Alden Diaz there. Support Alden, another great sports kid. I had a big Dan Marino face. It was like a helmet. It was this old. They released a lot of them. Paul, you might remember that era too. It was Dan Marino. It was this big. And the day he got injured on a Sunday, right? And I go into school Monday morning. I have Zubaz. I had my Zubaz, Miami Dolphins Zubaz pants on. This black Dolphin shirt with Dan Marino, and I taped on it in Marino or Long Live Marino. In Scott Mitchell we trust.
Oh my God.
It's gonna be okay. Last words. Yeah, I don't take football that serious anymore. And that's probably why. But when he came back the next year, I just loved it because Dan was back, and it was hard when he retired. Man, I love the Dolphins. I love Brian Flores as a coach, and I never watched with the same intensity after he retired in '99. Just never have.
I just love that you had a pair of Zubas. They are the most comfortable pants of all time. Yeah, I'd love to have many pairs right now.
Yeah, I see people are wearing them and they're kind of back in style in that hip ironic way. I wore them to school, mother. Boop. I am in a yearbook picture in them.
I also have a yearbook picture in Zubas. In the class picture, I'm wearing Redskins Zubas with my Redskins starter jacket over top of it. Class and a Redskins hat, of course, because that was me.
Oh, yeah, imagine orange, teal, and white just barfed up on pants that are kind of sweatpants, and I wore them to school, and I let them take a picture. Oh my God!
Orange and black.
I had a similar like adolescence to you, Ken. Just maybe a little later. I was in my Zubas and my Redskins gear, trading ECW tapes at lunch. While other people were talking to girls. I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, no need. You don't need to know.
My proudest Dan Marino moment is understanding and knowing who he was when I first watched Ace Ventura. I knew. I knew.
Fair.
So I got the reference.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's all you need to know.
Laces out, Day. Laces out.
Mm-hmm. Next question. Hello from the Reactor Brothers, as spoken of in your Star Wars tourney promo. Where did the idea for that promo come from?
Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. You guys do great work. I touched upon it a little bit earlier, but here, it was like if I ever don't want to do something and I tell Christian that, and it's like he won't do it. So I don't want to ever have the idea that he forces me into something there. But he's very He's got his plans, and I do love a good promo, and I do love the limelight. I wish I was announcing. Me and Ellis announcing. No shade to anyone else who comes in. I think a lot of people do it well. Brad Gilmore, Christian does it well, except for when he's counting and staring off and watching Dan Murrell lose. I just want to announce. Ellis and I want to be minor league baseball announcers, and that's our dream. And I love doing it with Ellis. Don't clip that out. Actually, we clip it out. I'd stand by that too. So the promo itself, I just was like, all right, if I'm doing this, let me get back in the ring and talk about it. And I just set up the camera at a lav mic up underneath my mask and just, poured myself a cup of water and said, because it was kind of hot out. And I said, let's go. And that's it. I didn't plan it. I shot it one take, and I just knew I was going to cut in some stuff. So then I taped some cut-ins with the Ewok and everything that I knew I'd cut into the promo, but I didn't plan it. It's your story. It's your story. That's the Piper way. That's the Jericho way. That's old school wrestling. I don't need a scripted promo. At the days of the shoots, Christian will be like, can you just touch upon this stuff? And I'll be like, yeah, let's do it. And he trusts me fully, and I trust him to use it properly for his business there. So that's where it came from, Chris. It just came from the truth. I felt I was being thrown to the wolves. Everyone knows I don't have the time or desire to study as much. I think the game changed in 2017 for the better, but my favorite Schmoedown thing is the documentary on JT. That's how I wanted the Schmoedown to be in my head, but that would have been small. It needs to get bigger. So I'm not complaining, but I love that era. It's like, all right, I feel I'm being thrown to the wolves. I think people are going to build on my name and use it. So that was that. I did study that. I'll say this right now, since this is kind of a Schmoedown adjacent kind of broadcast here. I was a little upset. I studied. Bador, who's in chat, got on a Discord voice channel with me. And we did a stream, I think, on YouTube Unlisted for my Patreon supporters. And she ran me through 300 or more questions. And I'm telling you, I was in 95% range. Wow. And I 100% was watching the matches leading up to my match. And Christian would text me every day after the match, how'd you do? And I was like, perfect. I was perfect every time. So when I got to my match and I started missing some stuff, I have a philosophical difference with some of the questions that they write in Star Wars. And PJ and I have talked about it. And I love PJ and I love Chris back in the day. Like, PJ is great. So I just don't like the way they write some of the questions. I think they're what I call the pause and write. How many droids are burping on the screen right now? I paused it, and you don't know that? Like, that's not Star Wars knowledge to me. But that's the game. So, but I studied. I just lost. And I told Ace before, said, I want you to win because I love you, but I respect you too much to not compete. And that all went into the promo. I felt it was weird, and I felt people were I don't watch a lot of the shows. I feel bad sometimes people come up to me at live events and, hey, I'm from the so-and-so podcast, and I have to be like, good luck with that. I just don't, right? I'm making content. I don't listen. So I feel bad, but you're all doing great work, and you're all making this community something important. But that's where I just was like, everyone out there, they're riding on the Schmoedown coattails that I helped build back in the day, and I'm coming back, but I'm probably going to lose, but whatever, you're still afraid. And everyone was still afraid, because you don't know what I know. And we played it up. And I was bummed because I did miss a little bit more. I missed the solo question. There's the Jar Jar. That's the example of what I don't like. Of what did Jar Jar say when, describing, and the answer is Gungan City. Yeah, I probably might have remembered that on another day. But it's like Oda Gunga is the name of the city, and that's Star Wars knowledge to me. Right. That's trivia knowledge. I don't like the pause and rights. But that's, again, I never want anyone to think I have a problem with PJ Campbell, because he's not only just one of the sweetest people I've ever met. He just works his ass off for whatever they pay him, and he's got to do what he's got to do. So that's where I was. I was bummed. I was bummed. I was some of the even promos afterwards. I thought some of the tone was a little unfair to what I would do, but it is what it is. It's all love and fair and war and Schmoedown, so it's all right.
I get it. We all love PJ here. We're friends with PJ, and PJ does work his ass off. Him and his whole team. So yeah.
All right. And then our last question we'll get to this evening is: how long did you wait in line for Phantom Menace? And is Ellis correct on the time?
He was incorrect. So there was, let's see, Phantom Menace. So there was the ticket sale. I waited about 6 hours. I got off my shift at 3 a.m. and I went over to the Winnetka Theater, Pacific Theaters, Winnetka 20 or whatever it was called, over here in Winnetka, California. Waited in line out there until the morning. I got heat exhaustion, not stroke, but heat exhaustion. It's hot in the valley a lot. Mm-hmm. And we were in direct sun, no shade. Nowadays, there'd be pop-up tents, or, the people will be like, oh, people are going to wait. Back then there was like, hey, a bunch of nerds are waiting out for tickets. And I did buy my Phantom Menace tickets there for about 4 to 6 hours. I think I waited. And then I waited at midnight at the Toys R Us in Port Ranch, California for the figures. I waited a couple hours there. But Phantom Menace itself, it was just a couple hours because you had the tickets. The only thing you didn't have was the seat, no assigned seating. So I was there a couple hours at the same theater. So that was all. But Alice is joking. And spiritually, I waited for 20 years. So.
All right. I think that's going to do it then for tonight, right? Ken, why don't you tell where good folks can find you?
Well, hey, you can find me at kennapzok.com. That's my website. That'll take you to a one-stop shop to everything there. The Patreon page. Seriously, I'm joking with Fairs. He's a good cat, and I love him on my Twitch stream, and love seeing his name pop up under the high tiers. Got a lot of different tiers. Everyone knows the Patreon drill, but we got a lot of different shows. And I always say, I'm in a direct-to-consumer kind of line of work right now, and we depend on your support. We really do. Don't let Ratsy go hungry. But no, the best way to support is just listen and get the word out and spread the word. That's all. I have Force Center afternoons. Box Score Heroes, my new baseball podcast, is starting small, and that's expected. But it's like the best way you can support is just be there for all of us. And that's quite frankly one of the reasons I came on this show. I'll say it plainly. Like, I don't know all of you too well. I know President Belford really well. I've studied his life and played it, but it's like, I know PLD specifically, all of you, Kelsey, a lot of people just love what you all do, but like, I know PLD's in the corner of a lot of the people who mean stuff to me, and that's also part of the support we love. So every once in a while you get a bad egg like John Mariano, but it is what it is. But that's the way you can find me. KenNapzok.com is the easiest way. I'm not on Instagram and Twitter as much as I used to be. I've decided to pull back and not be as active on there. I'll promote stuff, but you can find me on those spots.
Great. Okay. All right. Welcome to Billy. Where can we find you, Billy?
You can find me when I'm not doing my presidential duties on Twitter at Real Donald Trump. I mean, at Mr. Billy Belford. Yeah, that's where I'm at. And that's it. I'll be ranting and raving at Call Live or Chill to Action whenever they let me back on this show. So,
only the good one. Kelsey, how about you, girl?
All right, you can find me at KelseyKins90 on Twitter and Instagram. Also on the Call to Action Podcast Instagram, so you can interact with me there. TeePublic, we've got merch, we've got masks. Wear your masks. And I also now a Twitch affiliate, so if you want to watch me play video games and do watch-alongs and things like that, it's at KelseyKinsGamer.
Okay, and then I'll tell you where you can find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. You find me also on Class Action every week, which is the Action Industries YouTube channel, Ben and Drew. I do a show there where I put up basically this or that, but as in movies or franchises or actors. We did Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation versus Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol this week, and next week we're going to do Mission Impossible 3 versus Mission Impossible Fallout, a little mini Mission Impossible tournament. And you can also find me. I've opened up my own YouTube channel, PLD Projects, slowly building content. Right now, you can find me reviewing the sci-fi franchise from the 80s, V, which was my favorite saga at that time, episode by episode, and all the books and comics involved there within. And eventually we'll get around to the Harris stance, the Ed Harris. I walk you through every movie that Ed Harris has been in because he's the greatest.
Woo! That's right, y'all. And of course, you know me. It's your girl, Danny Joy here. You can find me on Twitter at DannyJoy, DANIEEJOY. You can also find me here every Monday on Chill to Action on the Call to Action Network. You can also, if you want to go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do it. I've had a very rough day today. I had to take my computer in, and it's not going to be done for a month. So I'm working off of a different computer that I don't normally work off right now. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Subscribe to this channel, Call to Action. Go to Ken's Patreon and his Twitter, everything else that you found from that, everything else from all of that, from everyone else in here. Oh, I never know how to close these things. I'm always the worst at this. So bad. I'm so sorry, y'all. Thank you to everyone inside of the chat. We are on episode 47.
That is
correct.
True, that's correct. 47. So we're almost there.
47. So we got a few more episodes for you coming up, and then we are celebrating our 50th episode / 1 year anniversary on Chill to Action. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us for almost a year now. Can't believe it. It's been nuts. A whole year. So thank you to everyone inside of the chat, to everyone inside of the Schmoedown family, from everyone at the Call to Action Network. Thank you all so much. And as always, we salute you. How many more times can we get out of here before all hits and broadcast? Let's see. Click, 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 click.